I never thought a spare key could disrupt my life this fast. Last Tuesday, my mom used her emergency key to let herself into my apartment, but this time Emily and I were on the couch, half-dressed and not expecting company. Mom froze in the doorway, then screamed about disrespect and called Emily trashy for tempting me in her son's home. Emily didn't even argue. She just grabbed her clothes, shoved past Mom, and left without her shoes. I found them later. I demanded the key back immediately. Mom clutched it in her fist. She said that I would regret this phase. She's talked about my phases since I came out at 19, but this was the first time she'd weaponized it. I should have known then it wouldn't end with the key. Emily texted me 3 hours later that she couldn't keep doing this and that my family was always judging her. She didn't block me, but she didn't answer when I called. Her parents lived 20 minutes away, and I thought about driving over, but I didn't want to ambush her. Instead, I waited by the door. My sister called around midnight. She told me that she knew how Mom worries about me. I love my sister, but she's always played mediator. She stayed local for college and calls Mom every Sunday. But when I asked if she'd give her key back too, she went quiet. She said to just give her time. I changed the locks the next morning. The guy at the hardware store recognized me because I had helped edit his resume last year when I was freelancing. He gave me a discount, but it still cost $197. It was my last $200 from a job I hadn't reported to Mom. She'd helped me budget since I moved out, which meant she knew about my direct deposits but not the under-the-table stuff. Mom showed up at 2 p.m. I heard her moving the knob and then breathing sharply when it didn't budge. She pounded the door so hard the frame shook. She told me to open the door immediately. I told her through the wood to leave or I'd call the cops. She left a voicemail an hour later, complaining about ingratitude and reminding me she co-signed my lease. She said that after everything she had done to keep a roof over my head, the guilt was familiar, almost comforting in its predictability. Emily's parents invited me over for dinner that night. Her mom hugged me at the door. She told me I was always welcome there, and I believed her. Emily sat across from me, picking at her lasagna. She wouldn't look up. I still don't know if it was an accident. When I checked my bank account the next morning, there was a $75 charge from Metro PCS. Mom had canceled the family phone plan she'd paid for since college. I bought a prepaid phone, but losing my old number meant 3 clients emailed to say they couldn't reach me. One hired someone else. I didn't tell Emily. My aunt emailed me a photo of Mom's living room. She said that she hadn't slept in days and that I should apologize. I almost apologized. Then Emily found Mom's spare key in my junk drawer while looking for a charger. She said I had said I got it back, holding it between her thumb and forefinger. I didn't have an explanation. Mom must have made copies when I was at work. I picked up extra shifts at the print shop, saving for a cheaper apartment. But my credit score has dropped since Mom stopped co-signing things. First my car lease at 21, now this. The landlord wants a guarantor, and Emily's parents offered, but I don't want to owe them. Not yet. Mom mailed me a photo from my 6th birthday. The note on the back said that it was who I really am. I threw it out. Emily dug it out of the trash and put it in her purse. She said I might want it later. I don't. Emily's staying with her parents now. I'm on their couch. She kisses me goodnight but sleeps in her room with the door closed. Last night, I heard her crying through the wall. I didn't knock. I don't know how to fix this. Mom thinks she's saving me. Emily thinks I'm not fighting hard enough. I'm just tired. Has anyone dealt with a parent who loves you so much it suffocates? How do you breathe after that? Now for the first update. 3 days ago, I thought changing the locks would fix everything. The landlord called. He said Mom had asked him to revoke my lease, citing emotional distress. He laughed. Apparently, she tried the same thing with my sister's first apartment. He told her no, but warned me to check my lease terms. I didn't tell him. I'd already memorized every clause. Mom's next move was a text saying that she was donating my childhood things since I'd moved on. No apology, no threats, just facts. I drove to her house faster than I should have, running 2 yellows. The trash bags were lined up on the porch. Journals from middle school, photo albums she'd labeled, even the stuffed bear I'd slept with until high school. Emily met me there. She didn't ask why I'd called her instead of renting a truck. She started loading the bags into her Honda. Later, we found a letter wedged in my 2003 soccer trophy. Mom had written it to Dad after their divorce, blaming him for corrupting me. I was 4 when he left. She'd kept it for 20 years. Work has been difficult. My boss pulled me aside after I misfiled a client's contract for the 3rd time. He gave me a warning instead of writing me up. I didn't mention the 2 a.m. shifts bartending or the fact I'd started therapy through our EAP program. 3 sessions isn't enough to untangle this, but it's something. Mom ambushed me at the gym yesterday. I was at the gym when her shadow crossed the rack. She pretended to bump into me, then tutted about how gaunt I looked. Her eyes flicked to the protein shake Emily packed. Almond milk, vegan powder, the kind mom calls hippie nonsense. I left without showering. Emily's parents offered to cover a security deposit if I moved closer to them. Their town's quieter, cheaper. I sold my guitar to help with costs. Mom gave it to me for my 16th birthday. The buyer lowballed me by $50, but I took it. My sister sent a screenshot of Mom's family group chat. She'd posted a blurry photo of my bartending apron and asked if anyone else thought I seemed off. Aunt Carol replied with a praying hands emoji. I blocked everyone except Dad, though his silence is its own answer. The second job is exhausting me. Emily notices. She started leaving protein bars in my coat pockets. Last night, she asked if I'd rather crash than watch a movie. I said I wasn't tired. She didn't call me out. Mom's voicemail came at 2:17 a.m. Her voice cracked as she mentioned chest pains, how I'd know if I cared. I sat up before my sister texted. She said she's fine and was testing me. I threw my phone at the couch. Emily's ringtone is the same as Mom's now, some default piano tune. The landlord agreed to switch me to a month-to-month lease if I fix the shower leak. YouTube tutorials make it look easy, but the pipes under my sink are rusted. I'm using a bucket until payday. Emily's been quieter. She still hugs me goodbye, but her arms don't tighten. Last week, she mentioned a coworker who transferred to Colorado. I didn't ask why she told me. I keep Mom's letter in my glove compartment, not to reread it, just to remember she can be cruel in her words. Emily thinks I should burn it. Maybe I will, once the lease is secure. Now for the second update. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who gets a wellness check called on them. But there I was at 3 a.m. facing 2 cops. They said someone reported concerns about my mental state, that I might be a danger to myself. I knew who'd sent them before they finished explaining. Passed their evaluation, obviously. But when Emily's dad heard, he asked her if I was stable enough for a serious relationship. That stung worse than the sleep deprivation. I changed my number the next morning and emailed Mom through another account, telling her to contact me through my lawyer. She responded with a handwritten letter. I read it twice and then let it crash into the dumpster behind my building. My birthday was on a Tuesday. Mom always made lemon cake, even when money was tight. Emily surprised me with one from a bakery downtown. I cried in their bathroom while her parents did the dishes. Emily didn't knock. She slid a paper towel under the door with "Take your time" written in eyeliner. Work called me into HR. Mom had been phoning them, impersonating me to request days off. My boss said if it happened again, they would have to reevaluate my fit for the role. I showed them the police report from the wellness check. The HR manager told me about her sister who had gone through something similar. It didn't fix anything, but I appreciated the effort. I started a Google Doc that night, listing every call, text, and incident. Emily's dad let me borrow his printer to make copies. He handed me a USB drive with scanned insurance documents, saying it was in case I needed proof. My sister called while I was packing. Mom had been trashing her too over a missed Mother's Day brunch. I told her about the restraining order paperwork. She paused for a long time and then asked if I really thought that would stop her. I didn't have an answer. Dad called on a Thursday, the first time in 3 years. He said he's been in rehab and wants to meet up. I agreed to coffee. Mom found out and showed up at his halfway house, screaming about enablers and bad influences. He texted me afterward that she hasn't changed. I withdrew my 401k to cover the new apartment deposit. The penalty fees wiped out a third of it, but Emily's parents offered to co-sign after a meeting with my therapist. She vouched for my resilience. We got the keys, and Emily held hers up. Packing alone was harder. Mom circled the block twice while I loaded the U-Haul. She didn't honk or stop. Part of me wanted her to confront me, to give me a reason to yell, but she vanished each time. She left her key in the old mailbox with a note saying she wasn't coming back. The landlord texted a thumbs up when he found it. Emily's been sleeping on an air mattress with me until the bed arrives. Last night, she asked if I ever miss her mother. I told her I miss who she was before I grew up. We didn't talk after that. I keep waiting for relief, but all I feel is tired and maybe a little proud. Not for leaving, but for lasting this long. I ask if anyone else has dealt with a parent who loves them enough to destroy everything. How do you stop waiting for things to get worse? And if you've been the Emily in this situation, how do I make sure she doesn't regret choosing me? Now for the final update. I never thought I'd have to explain to a police officer why my mother sent a funeral invitation for me. It arrived in an ivory envelope. Inside was a program for The Son I Lost, with a fake obituary listing my cause of death as selfishness. Emily opened it shakily. We sat on the floor of our new apartment. I didn't cry. I took photos of every page and forwarded them to my lawyer. The restraining order was approved 3 days later. Emily's mom ran into mine at the grocery store a week after that. She told me Mom was pushing a cart full of my favorite snacks. When Emily's mom asked why she'd sent the funeral invite, Mom apparently clutched her chest and said that I took her only son. The cashier had to intervene. I didn't know whether to laugh or break something. Dad moved into a sober living home 2 miles from us. He apologized for failing me. I didn't tell him it was okay, but I let him hug me. Mom showed up at my office the day after the restraining order took effect. Security footage caught her arguing with the receptionist, claiming she had a delivery for me. They escorted her out, but not before she told me she brought lemon cake. My boss let me take the rest of the day off. That night, Emily handed me a pregnancy test. We didn't celebrate. We held each other on the couch. I kept waiting to feel ready. Telling Dad was easier than I expected. He cried into his coffee and promised to stay sober for the baby. Mom found out somehow. A week later, a crib arrived at our doorstep. The note taped to it said that I'd need her eventually. We donated it to a shelter but kept the note. Emily thought it was morbid. I called it insurance. My sister showed up unannounced the next weekend. She'd been couch surfing after Mom froze her bank accounts for missing a family dinner. I helped her apply for student loans while Emily made pancakes. When I asked why she hadn't left sooner, she said it was easier to hate her when not alone. Work promoted me the following month. The raise wasn't life-changing, but it meant we could afford a 2-bedroom. My boss mentioned resilience in the announcement email. I didn't correct her. Mom's neighbor called last Tuesday. She'd fallen down the stairs and was in the hospital. I sent white lilies with no card. I hung up before she could ask if I wanted to visit. Emily's due in December. We're painting the nursery today. She wants mint green. I'm pushing for yellow. We'll probably end up with both. Mom's latest letter came yesterday. She wrote she was ready to talk when I was. I fed it through the shredder while Emily napped on the couch. Has anyone else had to rebuild their life while someone's still trying to burn it down? How do you stop waiting for the next disaster? And if you've been the partner in this mess, how do I make sure Emily never regrets staying?